Hi, and welcome to this edition of Tech Clarity TV. My name is Jim Brown, President of Tech Clarity, where we make the business value of technology clear. Today I'd like to talk to you about an important topic, Science Lifecycle Management, or ScLM. I've recently published an ebook on ScLM and how ScLM has really taken its place among enterprise applications. During the process of researching the book, I had a chance to talk to some great companies, Johnson & Johnson, Unilever, had a chance to review some presentation materials from Eli Lilly, and also some others to really understand how companies are incorporating their scientific operations into their business. So what exactly is Science Lifecycle Management? Science Lifecycle Management is an integrated suite of applications that really helps companies improve their quality, efficiency, compliance, and the level of scientific innovation from their operations. It takes a lot of the information and processes that happen within the lab and really opens those up and takes them into the mainstream of the business to help them take that knowledge, that corporate scientific knowledge, and allow it to really be unlocked to provide greater levels of business value. So one of the companies I talked to was Unilever, and I spoke with VP Frank Meyer over there. We had some long conversations, and he really looks at this as building some really strategic competitive capabilities for his company. And he talks a lot about being able to capture data once, to do an experiment for once, for example, and then have it pay dividends multiple times through reuse. So they get greater and greater value out of it, as well as greater efficiency. I also had a chance to talk to Paul McKenzie, Vice President at J&J, and he talked about really using Science Lifecycle Management as a way to fundamentally change the way the lab operates, both from a content perspective, a data perspective, as well as from an execution perspective. And he cautioned against what he sees a lot of companies doing, which is implementing paper on glass, which is taking an existing process that maybe worked in the form-based, paper-based environment and automating that. And what he really recommends is taking a much more fundamental look at the way scientific information can be used all the way from the front end of the processes in the lab, but then all the way through manufacturing. I think it's important to point out the fact that the value of Science Lifecycle Management goes well beyond the lab. And in fact, the further that Science Lifecycle Management moves outside of R&D and extends and touches into the enterprise, the greater the value gets. Speaking with J&J, talking to Paul McKenzie, he talked about wanting to be able to manage and also to enable products and processes across the whole product life cycle. And in a similar way, talking to Frank Meyer at Unilever, he said that he wants to manage the flow of information and processes all the way from science to ERP. What this means is that Science Lifecycle Management is now sitting at the table with other major enterprise applications like Product Lifecycle Management, or PLM, and ERP. And we're starting to see a lot of scenarios where connecting innovation and exploration with product development and execution really provides greater value. And the ebook actually offers a framework for how those applications can work together. So I'd like to end with a few key takeaways if I could. The first is that it's really time to take a more cohesive, integrated look at science and R&D operations and data with Science Lifecycle Management, or ScLM. The second is that it's important to understand the roles that PLM, ERP, and ScLM can play and how integrating them can help improve the business even more. And that the real goal should be, as we pull together these enterprise applications, to share scientific knowledge much more broadly within the enterprise and to bring the science life cycle in sync and in context with the overall product life cycle. And by doing so, really unlock some new business value. So I thank you for your time and attention. I hope you got something out of the presentation. I look forward to continuing the discussion. Please feel free to download the ebook. And then I would love to discuss this with you via Twitter, Facebook, on my website. I look forward to the conversation.